y'all, welcome to Cooking on the Farm. I am Rachel, and today I have an amazing friend that I haven't seen forever because she had to move to Texas. My friend Andrea is visiting us, and she brought her kids. The kids are upstairs, they're playing, so you may hear them in the background. Sorry for that. Okay, she told me about this recipe last fall, soccer. It is Almond Roca, okay? Guys, this is July, so this is Christmas in July. We're gonna release this to you guys in November. So, we're tan, it's hot. You'll see this and we'll be bundled up. Anyway, so I'm gonna turn this over. She's gonna explain what we're doing here and how to get this going. All right, you're gonna need 1 cup of butter, and it has to be salted butter, 1 cup of sugar, and then for your toppings, you're gonna need close to a tablespoon of coconut oil, Crisco, some sort of oil like that. About a cup is what we're starting with of chocolate chips. And then you're gonna need some sort of nut. This is like your Almond Roca. I'm not an almond person, so we're doing pecans. The combination of walnut and pecan is my favorite, but I don't have any walnuts.
So I learned about this recipe probably when I was about 12 years old from my older sister, my big sister, who was, you know, in college at the time. And she taught me this recipe. It's so easy. You just do a cup of butter, cup of sugar, and caramelize it. That's the tricky part. You have to really pay attention with your nose, with your eyes, and there's this perfect sweet spot.
I'm not the only one that does the nose, guys. Come on.
But she taught me this, and I've sort of perfected it over time. And so I just practiced a lot through middle school, high school, college, and eventually I got to the point where I started giving it out in tins as gifts. So it makes a great Christmas gift.
Guys. All right, so what are we doing?
So we're going to turn on the burner on medium high and get it going. You want to do medium high. If you cook it too low, it kind of gets gooey.
It takes forever.
If you cook it too high, it's going to burn fast. So
that's what I did the first time. I was on the phone. I'm like, what do I do now? It's like, it's changing color. And she's like, oh, that's a good thing. I'm like, that smells not a good thing. And it went black, and we were laughing. It was funny, guys.
And then at the end, I was like, what temperature did you have it on? She's like, oh, I was cooking it on, was it low or hot?
No, it was high, but it was on my burner that runs high. This is my burner that runs lower, so.
Okay, so the butter's starting to melt. No, it's fine. You just let it melt. You just kind of start to mix the sugar in, you know, just kind of stir it around as it melts. It takes a few minutes, but once the butter melts, the sugar starts to melt along with it, and then it becomes this beautiful, just magic. I just love it. I just call it magic.
Would it be better to melt the butter and then add the sugar in? Would that work?
No. Yeah, my favorite part of this recipe, though, as it melts, this part takes a little while. But once it all melts together, you got to kind of stir it constantly. Okay. There's going to be a place where it's going to start to bubble. It's not done yet. Keep going. Watch the bubbles happen. It'll be a light caramel color, like too light, like lighter than this wooden spoon. Okay. It's not ready yet. You want to wait until you see the bubbles almost start to smooth out. Okay. And that's when it caramelizes, and you'll smell that gorgeous caramel smell. You'll see it kind of turn a slightly darker color, and that's kind of the sweet spot.
All right, perfect. So should we get a candy thermometer?
No,
you don't use a candy thermometer.
I don't use a thermometer.
Okay. All the color.
The first time you do it, you might have a throwaway. It's okay. But once you kind of learn that sweet spot, it's easy. It's so easy to identify it. Once you see it once, you're like, oh, I get it. I think the second time you made it, you're like, oh, that's it.
So this is normal. This separation is completely normal. You're stirring. And she did say she's always made it with a wooden spoon. I think the very first time I made it with a spatula, it did burn, so I kind of switched to a wooden spoon. I haven't gone back. Don't know if that has anything to do with it.
I don't know what it is about the wooden spoon, but it's part of the magic. Okay. I think you have to have a wooden spoon.
Have to have a wooden spoon, guys.
And again, I know you mentioned salted butter. I made it one time when I was in high school with, for some reason, we had unsalted butter, which why would you ever? And I made it, and it just turned out to be a sloppy mess. And then you just stir, and I don't know. I don't want to tell you a time. It depends on the heat level.
Well, it depends.
But you know, it could be 7 minutes, could be 10 minutes.
Well, and this is gas. Someone could have electric. Yeah. You know.
So, but I don't pay attention to time. I just watch for that. The bubbles smooth, the caramel color, the caramel smell, and then you pour it out.
It's also like right now, it's still separate, but you can see it's starting to come together a little bit. So another thing is, we're not worried about the sugar going up the side. It does melt back down, so we're not making caramel per se to where you have to scrape your sides down and worry about that burning stuff.
And you do want to, as you stir, kind of scrape the bottom so it's not sticking. You want to kind of keep it moving.
All right, so I don't know if you can tell, but it's starting to actually like
Boil.
increase in size because it's getting lots of little bubbles, and there's a few bigger bubbles.
I don't think I had it hot enough at the beginning. I think it was more on medium.
But that's okay.
But now it's medium high. It's good. Yeah. And as the butter's melting, it doesn't really matter. It's this part that's critical. You want it to bubble at a nice pace. But this is beautiful right here where it's starting to really bubble.
So remember, stirring constantly. If your hand gets tired, pass it off to someone else. Switch hands if you're talented like that. I'm not talented.
It's all in the wrist.
Yeah. So the bubblers are getting big, and she's scraping the sides down with the spoon, going across the full bottom. You don't want to just do certain areas. You want to go across the whole entire thing. Not missing a spot, because you could get a burn spot.
It's going to be close. I'd say, within a couple minutes, we'll see the volume start to decrease a little. Yep. The color's going to darken. And you want to remove it very quickly once you see that color change, because it will continue to darken once you get it on the pan.
Yep. But it's gotten a lot thicker.
And you can still smell it. It still smells like butter. It's gonna change to a more caramel smell, and that's the time. It's really close. Oh, but look, see the bottom? You can see it starting to brown on the bottom. This is where the scraping of the bottom gets really good, because you want to pull all those lovely brown colors into the mix.
It's like gravy bits.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
See, it's still pretty bubbly though. It hasn't smoothed yet. It's not quite there yet, but you can see it's not quite as fluffy. It's starting to smooth, and kind of, this is the beginning signs of the caramelizing.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of marshmallows when you're melting them, how they bubble up and then they kind of die down right before they get done. That's kind of the visual that I'm getting. As she's scraping it, it's not falling back instantly. It's kind of staying kind of balled up a little bit.
Yeah, I can see how it kind of slowly goes in. Okay, smell that.
Yep.
It's like almost there, but not quite caramel smelling.
Nope, not yet. And it happens fast, guys.
Yeah.
So if you are talking to a friend on the phone, it's on speakerphone down, or you have earbuds in or whatever. You're not, holding the phone on your ear. Oh, hang on, I gotta, you're very aware here. This is not the time for, the kids to come in and be bleeding.
Now, okay, where it's at right now, you could pour it out and be fine. I like to take it, not to burn, but just past this point, gives it a little extra flavor. But we are almost there.
So you could pull it here and it would still be crunchy, is what she's saying.
Yeah, this would actually be beautiful. I just like to give it a little extra kick of flavor. So I'm gonna give it
extra caramelness.
But this is the happy place, and you have about a 2-minute window where it's gonna be in that happy place, and you'll be fine. So if you wait another minute or two after this, it's gonna burn.
You're done, yeah.
But this one is, look at that beautiful caramel color. It's this kind of gentle consistency.
It's not blobbing off or water.
There's some air bubbles, but it's not bubbly.
Yep.
Okay, and just pour it right in the middle. That is a pretty batch right there. So now as it starts to cool, you wanna wait a few minutes so it cools.
And you don't wanna rock it, is that what you're saying? Just let it be. Don't spread it out?
You can a little, but I typically don't. Yeah, it doesn't really move much anyway. You don't really need to. Now you want to let it cool enough, because if you start scoring it too early, it's just going to gel back together.
Okay.
Like when you put nail polish on and there's, no streaks. It's nice. That's what it'll do. So you want to wait till it hardens enough. So I'd wait like, I don't know, 2 minutes, and then start scoring it. And you can score it in whatever shape you want. If you like big chunks, little chunks, I like to do, I don't know, 1 inch by 2 inch, but you can pick whatever size you want, and make it whatever you want. And then you always get little end corner pieces. And I love making those and dipping them in chocolate and rolling them nuts. They're these little mini triangles. And those are the great taste testers for you and your kids. This is probably at a good point to start scoring it. So you pick your size. I'm going to do about 1 inch, and you just kind of press and see how it's kind of staying a little bit. And you're going to want to go over it a few times. See how in the middle it's kind of gelling back together? So it's actually good to start on the edges, because that's going to harden the fastest. So start first on the edges. Once they get to like this where it kind of stays a little bit, but it's still soft, this is the perfect point to start scoring it. I love this.
The first time I got this to work, I used a pizza cutter.
That's awesome.
And that worked really well. And then the kids did it, and they weren't, you know, I wasn't worried about them like having their hands too close. They just went zzz, zzz, zzz. They had some oddball sizes, I can tell you that though.
Yeah, I'm doing a few that are square.
Yeah, it's okay.
See how it's starting to kind of stay? I'm just gonna keep going over it till you see that nice deep mark and it's fully cooled. And then you want to let it sit for probably another 10 minutes before you start breaking it up.
Because it's still warm in the center.
But yeah, you'll see they'll break. Once it's ready, they'll just break off. Easy.
All right, guys, so now we are going to melt our chocolate. I'm just going to go on a lower heat. I have about a good teaspoon of coconut oil is what I have. About a cup of chips. Again, we don't like a lot of chocolate. All right, so again, I'm just got this on kind of a lower heat. And we are just gonna melt these. You can do this in a double boiler. If you want to use your microwave, you can put it in the microwave. You can do it for 30 seconds, stir it, 30 seconds, stir it until it melts. We're not tempering, it's just you're melting chocolate is what you're doing. So right before it's all like smooth, you wanna pull it off when it still has a little bit of lumpies or else it will burn. Again, like we did with this, you want to stir constantly. Do not leave. This will burn super fast, and burnt chocolate is.
Well, then you can't dip it. Then it's just hard.
Yeah, then it's a hard. Ugh.
That's not good.
If you take it too far, you can throw a handful of chips in there to cool it down a little bit. But other than that,
that looks perfect.
There we go.
Yeah. Dip one side, and then I'll kind of. You know, if you don't want a lot of chocolate, you kind of scrape the extra, make sure you get it on both sides. And then I'll flip it over and I'll just grab it by the corners and then do the other side. And that way you get it, and you can kind of spread it a little bit, get it nice. If there's too much chocolate on it, it's gonna start just falling off with the nuts, and then you're just gonna see the open exposed toffee.
It'll just be a gooey mess.
Yeah, so you wanna kind of get a nice layer on there. See how that's just a nice thin layer? And then you just bloop, put a little on the top, roll it around, and then you just lay it there and let it cool. Usually I'll let it cool 12 to 24 hours, and then you can put it in it.
If it lasts that long? Well, you don't have kids.
After you have your samples. If you're gonna put it in a tin to give to someone, or you're gonna take it to a party, you should make them the day before so they can cool and kind of harden and set. But yeah.
I love how it's not overly sweet. Like, you get kind of a happy medium, where it's not like, I'm just eating sugar. You kind of have like a depth of flavor with all the layers of the carameliness and the toffee, just kind of, the nuts. And like I said, I like the pecans because they're softer. They're not so bitter, like when I do straight walnut.
Yeah, walnuts are a little more bitter, which is probably why I do the sweeter chocolate when I do it with the walnuts. So if you're doing like milk chocolate gradelli, use the walnuts. If you're doing the semi-sweet pecans, ooh. I think we just perfected the recipe.
And then I don't like almonds. Like, I hate
they're too hard.
They're just,
yeah.
They overpower, and then you don't get to taste everything else. You just taste almond.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you again for joining me. I'm so glad you
This
came
was
to visit. All right, guys. From my kitchen to yours, I hope you guys have a blessed day. God bless, guys. Now I get another one.
I'm getting my little.
Back on the vent, walk away.
I don't know how to work your burner.
That's right.
There we go.
This is like your winter tan opposed to your summer tan.
I don't know. This looks a little bit like. I don't think this looks like a tan yet. This looks like Washington white.
Exactly. This is Washington white. This is your winter tan, y'all.
This looks like snow.
This is your summer tan. This is your winter tan.
Do you have those little hot pad sleeves, the mini?
I do, but I catch them on fire. I need the silicone
don't do
one.
that.
See?
Don't go there.
I need the silicone one.
We'll just need. Oh yeah, we'll just need it handy when we remove it off.
It shouldn't get that. when we do the chocolate part, you'll see I'll do a super thin layer. You're probably a chocoholic and you drink a lot of chocolate. You'll see the difference. Mine, hers.
Actually, I don't like chocolate.
You don't either? Oh, cool. Hey, see, I'm not the only one, guys. I'm not the only one. We're doing this for us.
I like chocolate.
For 30 seconds and a stir.
You're drinking the little dog's water, dog. Go ahead.